Hi, and welcome everyone to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. Today we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in beautiful New Orleans. Hello, everyone. It's such a joy to be here with you again today. And I'm super excited about the show that we're about to have. It's one of my favorite topics to talk about here online and in my private life. And we're going to be stepping into one of the most heated debates, I think, that's currently going on right now, and a fascinating subject of our time. The question of UFOs, now more commonly called UAPs, which drove me nuts to begin with. And of course, that stands for Unidentified Aerial Phenomena. And whether governments have been hiding the truth about them for decades, well, we know that's the truth. In recent years, the topic has moved out of the shadows and straight into the halls of power. The U.S. Congress held hearings. Military pilots have come forward with extraordinary encounters. Whistleblowers have even testified under oath about alleged secret programs and studying these mysterious crafts. What was once dismissed as science fiction is now being discussed as a matter of national security, transparency, and potentially one of the most profound discoveries in human history, which is mind-boggling that you think we have to fight for disclosure for something like that. At the center of the push for answers is a man who has spent nearly 3 decades trying to bring this issue directly to Washington and more, much more. My guest tonight is Stephen Bassett. He is the founder of the Paradigm Research Group and widely known as the first person to formally lobby the United States government specifically on the issue of UFO disclosure. Since the mid-1990s, Stephen has worked to end what he calls a truth embargo, perfectly said, surrounding these extraterrestrial presence. He has organized major events such as the Citizens Hearing on Disclosure in Washington. He met with congressional offices and advocated for government transparency on the UAP issue long before it became part of the national conversation. Now, with congressional investigations underway and whistleblowers making unprecedented claims, many believe that we are closer now to ever for answers than ever before. Tonight, we'll talk with Stephen about the current state of disclosure, what's happening behind the scenes in Congress, and what he believes may be coming next in this unfolding story saga, whatever you want to call it. Welcome, Stephen.
Saga. Yes, it's a saga. I like saga.
Yeah, saga. Exactly. It's such a blessing to have you here today. Thank you. And Michelle sends a big hello.
Yes, indeed.
Good. Well, thanks everyone in the chat. We see you and we love to say hello to you guys. And we will do so. Hello, Mish. Always a blessing. Benno, always awesome to see you, dear friend. And of course, Heidi, Star Sister. We love her here. And Michelle, wonderful to see you. And we will continue to say hi. Carrie, another Star Sister, dear friend. We will, yes, Benno, you just watched the extended disclosure trailer. I know we're gonna get into all this stuff. We have the perfect person to do that. Let me get his banner up and running here. You can find Stephen's website, which I think is one of 3, right, Stephen? ParadigmResearchGroup.org. So be sure we'll flash that across the screen later as well. So let's get started, Stephen. For folks that don't know who you are, I kind of read a little bit about you in the bio, but give us like a good aerial view of who you are and how you came to be connected to disclosure.
I'm a political activist, and I took this up in 1996. I'd always been an activist. I just didn't, how would you say, pursue it. It's like a lot of things. People that were always a painter, right? But they just didn't paint, but they knew it. And then at the age of 49, they said, I'm going to paint. Well, for me, it was an activist. That's who I was. So I was able to pursue activism, but I needed something to do, and I needed a target, and it turned out to be the ET issue. So I made the decision to jump into it and see where it would take me. I wasn't a researcher, right? So after spending 4 months or so in Boston at John Mack's operation, when he was studying contactees, trying to get some peer review papers done, a great man. It was a wonderful experience, very exciting. I figured out what to do, and that was to engage the politics as an activist. Okay, so not a lot of people were doing that by and large, but how? And then I realized, just sitting in my office in Boston, nobody's been stupid enough to register as a lobbyist. There's no money. People will laugh at you. So nobody's done that. So I will.
Yeah.
I'll be the first one, right? And it's like planting a flag. This is a major issue. Should have a lobbyist. Should have a lot of lobbyists.
Great.
So I'm thinking, all right away, you've done something positive in terms of advancing the issue. And amazingly, it worked. Probably the first thing in my life that ever really did work. So I did that, and I got a couple of small articles, but then the Washington Post found out about my registration and thought, we should go interview the first lobbyist on this issue and find out just how insane he is. Who is this person? And they sent out a report. It was a good article, big photo, and it was on the front page of the business section of the Washington Post. Of course, I had copies. And that legitimized me. This is the way it is these days. This is before, of course, the social media, huge blowout, and all the other stuff, and TikTok and influencers. And then it was getting a nice article in the Washington Post. That gave me some legitimacy, and I built on that, built a website, and then tried to engage the issue. As it was, I could not do any lobbying. I mean, nobody wanted to talk to me. But I was still the first lobbyist. And so that gave me a little cred. And then I went after the newspapers. I went after the news media, basically getting the message to them, understanding that if you can get the media to engage an issue, it will eventually catch up with the Congress without having to go up in the hill and waste your time. And so my early days were trying to raise the issues, awareness in the media, and with some success, and adapted as we went forward. I didn't think it would take 30 years. And there's no way I thought it would take 30 years. There was a lot going on at the time I didn't even know about. When I came in 96, I wasn't aware of Stephen Greer, that he was holding CE5 events and trying to call in ETs, or at least craft. I wasn't aware of the Rockefeller Initiative, that Rockefeller was trying to get Bill Clinton to, as president, get those files, which ultimately would sort of end the issue. I wasn't aware of Steve Schiff, who was trying to get the Roswell files because he was a New Mexico congressman. So there was actually a lot happening. And then as I became aware of that, I became pretty optimistic, and I'm thinking, okay, this is rocking and rolling. I'm going to get this done. And then in 2001, Stephen Greer pulls together a major event at the National Press Club. I attended. He had a bunch of witnesses there that spoke, each one saying after they were finished, about 5 minutes each, that they would be happy to repeat everything they just said under oath in front of Congress. Okay, very cool. And there was a party afterwards. ABC was interested in interviewing some witnesses. We got notice from Nightline, and there you go. And then 4 months later, 911, which I think an astute person would have understood wasn't just a bad day for the Trade Center.
Right.
It was a beginning of a whole new era.
Yes.
Of violence in this world that was not going to stop there. And from that point on, from 2001, everything we were trying to do in terms of getting the truth out was competing directly against a massive ramp up toward Lord knows what. And it was not a fair fight. So it slowed everything down,
Oh, yeah.
thus stretching it out now 30 years.
So you think that was like obviously like the catalyst that suppressed disclosure even further, correct?
I don't, well, see, catalyst would not be the term. It's just that uh, we we were going through a relatively promising period between the end of the Soviet Union, the collapse of the Soviet Union, where it gave, it outlawed the Communist Party, gave up 14 republics, and went capitalist. In fact, Putin even tried to brought back religion, and looked like, okay, that's
Yeah.
over. We can start shifting to other things. We can maybe start getting rid of nukes and so forth. And this went on for about 90 to 96, 7, 8. And so it felt the timing was good. Rockefeller, I knew that. He understood that.
Mhm.
That's why he made the move on the Clinton administration. But very quickly, things started to go the other way. And the attack on the Trade Center was simply a opening shot, a very powerful opening shot to a whole array of things that were going to start coming back at us, including a new Cold War. It was almost symbolic in a sense, and of course, it led to the Iraq War. And so again, all the years since that, we have been on a pathway since the day that happened to
Yeah.
World War III.
Oh, yeah.
And now we are very close to World War III, believe it or not. It
I
looks
feel
like
like
it.
we're in it. I mean, I do. I feel like we're in the midst of it, really. I don't know. It just seems that way. Everybody says that, this could lead to it, but and Trump promises no more wars, and then we end up in this crappy situation again. Oh, it's going to be short. It's going to be short. I don't know.
No one head of state can promise no more wars.
Right.
Again, are we in World War III? History will decide that.
Yeah.
We're not calling it that. However, we have a very, very detailed understanding of the origins of World War I,
Yeah.
everything that took place. We have a deep understanding of the origins of World War II
Hmm.
because they happened in the 20th century, and we had better tech than, say, back in the 12th century, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so, more and more, if you were to AI, to what extent, a question along these lines, use Gemini on Google, is probably the best. To what extent are the events taking place right now worldwide pointing towards a World War III? And you will
Mhm.
not get a no. You will get a pretty good answer that goes into those elements. We're not there yet, but we're definitely in the birth process of it. And of course, that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
And now the disclosure issue, which is more developed than ever, further along than ever, had a bit of a period there when things weren't too disruptive, but the Ukraine war hardly helped. Now it started in 22. Now we're competing with what literally is a potential buildup to World War III.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of competition. And so that's what we'll be talking about. So the situation is dynamic, historic, and the right decision could maybe get us out of this mess. I don't see anybody currently putting that right decision idea out there, so I'll do it for them. What's the least I can
Yeah.
do? And I'm
Yeah.
not being
That's
paid
what
anything
I'm
for that. It's
Yeah.
actually just doing it for free.
I don't know. It always seems like there's some reason why disclosure never comes to be. There's always some reason in the media. If it's not war, it's the Epstein file. It's just always something that seems to get in the way. Like when we had that drone situation take place. Now I live in Pennsylvania, very close to the New Jersey border, and I was able to see these drones coming and going. It was craziness. I took video of them and everything. That to me would have been the ideal time because everybody was freaking out. Everybody was buzzing. What are these drones? I mean, I think it would have been a perfect segue into some type of disclosure. Why it never happened. And, we were told, don't worry about it. It's nothing. It's nothing. Okay.
Let's put it this way.
Yeah.
Any activist movement is at the mercy of history. History is a busy thing. There's a lot going on all the time. Now, the bigger your issue, right? I mean, if the activist movement you're involved in is, I don't know, blocking a pipeline coming down from Canada, whatever, one of those, not to make fun of that. It's a narrow issue. It's going to be less affected by history. But when you have an issue this big, there's a whole range of things that could happen around the world of historic proportions that could interfere. And that's just the luck of the draw. Yeah. And so these things are not happening to deliberately block disclosure by and large. However, they're happening, and it just makes it that harder. All right. So the Iraq War was one of the worst things for the disclosure movement. Really hurt it. So, of course, 911, and so forth. So, and it's easy to take it personal. I mean, I know a lot of colleagues that do it. Yeah, take it. This you're doing that to mess my work up. How dare you invade that country? Why didn't you just leave Ukraine alone? Because I'm trying to get disclosure, Vladimir. No, he didn't care. Just did it. So, but it's history. And we're operating history at the grandest level. So I've gotten used to it. And the net result is that we're 30 years on. But we are 7 years in the end game, which started in 17. And more has happened in those 7 years than the previous 70. And we are very close to disclosure. In fact, as I've said many times, enough has now been done that needed to be done for the president to do it without anybody going, what?
Right.
What? What's going on here? No, they've gone, oh, yeah, I've been hearing about that. So the platform has been built for the president to step up on and end the truth embargo by simply saying we're not alone. The only thing it's missing is the rest of the UAP Disclosure Act. Frankly, it'd be nice to have that. Maybe a little more witness protection. That legislature is actually in play. It's there. Yeah. And if we had disclosure, it could easily be passed in a week. In terms of public awareness, in terms of congressional awareness and so forth, we have it. So the president could disclose tomorrow. Keep that in mind as our discussion goes on. So that's a good thing. But then there's some bad things.
Mm-hmm. Well, you commented on Donald Trump's recent statement pledging to ask all appropriate entities to release the UFO files, and that it marks a turning point, you said, because it represents a direct presidential promise to act rather than merely endorse these congressional efforts. So what do you think about that's like, why at that time couldn't he just say something like, let's just say we're not alone in the universe and the rest, stay tuned, will come to follow? Like, why couldn't he just admit that we're not alone in the universe?
Well, that would be disclosure. And he's not ready to do that.
Other stuff, the other congressional stuff can come whenever, but at least give us that.
Well, as I say, he has the platform. He could do it. Nobody's going to think it's odd. He chose not to. But that was a very significant thing that happened. Yeah. I have my own interpretation. The principals are not going to talk about it, maybe ever. But Barack Obama was well aware of the whole disclosure process underway. He knows what's been going on. He's following it all. He knows how close we are. And I think he understands the connection to the nuclear arms race and the nuclear war. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't know that they made a movie about that. He and his wife made a movie as Leave the World Behind. And it is about a nuclear war or nuclear attack, but it's clever, right? It's clever, but that's what it's about. And they're aware of this. Clinton could have been the disclosure president. She lost the election and time goes by. So he decided to do something which was rather clever. He's on a pretty strong talk show. Brian Taylor Cohen is got a huge following. I mean, he's good. Not as well known as Joe Rogan, but believe me, he's got a huge following, millions of subscribers, and he's on all the time. And so he interviews. He gets to interview. And when you're that big, you get to interview Barack Obama. And for whatever reason, the question is, a fast question round or something. He gives, "Are aliens real?" I believe that was set up in advance. That was not an accident. Obama says, yes, they are, but they're not at Area 51. Now, right at that moment, something very important has happened. Remember, it's going to be filmed. It's going out to the world. He knows exactly that.
Sure.
So if he'd slipped up, right, saying, yes, they are, because he knows they are. He knows there's an extraterrestrial presence. I guarantee it. Okay. He could have immediately stepped back. In other words, he slipped up, right? So if he'd slipped up, he could have said, well, they're real. But I think there's real aliens out there somewhere, but they're not here. The distances are too great and what have you. But he didn't do that. He doubled down, right? He says, yeah, yes, they're real, but they're not at Area 51. He brings up Area 51. So what he's saying is they're real and they're real aliens, but not Area 51. They're somewhere else. But some people think they are, okay? But they're not, all right? Unless there's a conspiracy, a huge conspiracy to keep that from the president. So it wasn't clear whether that they were keeping from the president that the aliens were not at Area 51 or they were aliens. I don't know. But now he's doubled down again. And so essentially the whole thing ends up being a bomb dropped right into the blogosphere, and articles are covering it all over the world. I mean, all kinds of articles. Boom, shoom, right? Because I follow them. I actually have them logged on my website. I'm up to 17,000. I'm 300 behind because of everything else has happened, and so I got to log up 300 articles here when I get back to DC. It could be 400 by then. Whatever. The point is, huge amount of media. Now he's not the president, so he's not supposed to dabble in an issue that big and make a statement like that. He is not the president. That's the president's prerogative. And he knows it, but he broke that protocol for a reason. The next day, of course, he takes it back. So 24 hours later, he takes it back, which kind of takes him out of the protocol problem. Okay. Well, they can't get here from here, whatever the hell.
That was annoying.
But, however, the message was sent. The message of that slip up had one audience, and that was Donald Trump. And he got that message. And with 24 hours after the retraction, 48 hours after the event, which is his wont to do, late at night, puts out a substantial, well-done tweet, on social media, which with no typos, that he's going to ask for the files. He's going to, because he can do it, right? He has the highest clearance. Now, why did he do that? Okay. First of all, there's a whole process underway to get the files right now. There's legislation. Some files are coming forward. However, a presidential intervention could speed it up, though it might not be responsible. But the UAP Disclosure Act, by the way, Chuck and Mike, thanks for calling it the Disclosure Act. I appreciate that. The UAP Disclosure Act is, still needs more. It needs to be fully done, but what's done is a process that brings it forward in an organized, responsible way. And it needs to be organized and responsible as long as it is a steady flow of information is going to get it all out. A president demanding to get the files and using the president's status and classification as commander-in-chief is not orderly. It could get pretty chaotic. It could get pretty bizarre. But whatever, it's one way to do it.
Yeah.
And so he says, I'm going to order up the files. I do not think he understood the implications of that statement. He was simply responding to Obama, meaning I'm the one that's going to get the files.
Right.
Okay. But it's more than that. The message that his advisors would have gotten is not complicated. It's this. I, Barack Obama, former president of the United States, with a very, very strong and popular following, who the president hates, I don't think we need to elaborate on that. All right. Could end this embargo in a sense tomorrow unofficially, right? In other words, I could just say, yeah, no, I was president, and I know enough from that my
Yeah.
time in office that we're not alone. Now, that is not disclosure as I defined it 25 years ago. Disclosure, formal confirmation must come from a head of state in order to have the effect that it must have, in order to take us forward the way it must do. But a former president doing it would still be significant, but it would not have the force that it needs until a actual president
Yeah.
does it. So what does that mean? He's saying to the advisors, I could do it, and then your president's going to have to follow me. Your president is going to have to confirm it, because denying it would be catastrophic. You're going to have to confirm it after I have let the horses out of the barn. And so the president would be the disclosure president. He would get that legacy,
Yeah.
but it would be diluted like 75%, because history will say, well, he did it because he had no choice.
Right.
Because former President Obama let the cat open the barn doors. Nothing he could do. He had to let him out. So
intentionally.
It is the worst possible case for the president, and from his point of view, this is unacceptable. This is awful, right? My God. In other words, I'm going to have to follow Barack Obama, and confirm what he's kind of already confirmed. He has stolen my thunder, taken my prize. And so that's the message that was said to the advisors, that may want to point out to the president that he could do that anytime he wants to. But on the other hand, you could disclose tomorrow. And that, I believe, is what transpired there. And then, okay, when the president does at least this, he says, well, I'm going to go get the files, which is his way of trying to cut back in line. Okay. Still not disclosure, but a strong statement. And guess what? That got a huge amount of news all around the world. Okay. And so the message to now the president and the advisors to the president is, what's stopping you? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, how many messages do you have to get that says, hey, this is the story? Yeah.
It's still off the back of Barack Obama, though, because he can't, even though he took his statement back, he, like you said, it's anything Trump does is still going to be in second to what Barack said, right?
A lot less, though. A lot less. Believe me, him saying they're real and then walking it back is one thing. Him actually going in front of a camera and saying, look, I can confirm there's an extraterrestrial presence based upon what I learned while I was president of the United States is another thing, right? The former takes a little edge off, but it's okay. President Trump will still be the disclosure president. But it's a message, it's a warning, it's clear. I hope the advisors are paying attention.
Yeah.
Because president could disclose tomorrow. It's the right thing to do. And there's other reasons why he needs to do it. And so we're that close. We've been that close for a while. Now there's other hearings that are still in the works in spite of all the other chaos. They could get sidetracked. There are other witnesses that still haven't testified that would testify. So the process continues, but we're running out of time, which I've been saying for 20 some years. That this is not we don't have an infinite time frame here. There's other things happening. So we're running out of time. And well, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
As well.
What about other countries? They seem to be all colluding together about this and not disclosing, like making sure that it's done maybe unilaterally. I don't know it, but I know other countries talk about it and admit it a lot more readily. Like, I mean, even Russia does. And I've heard a lot coming out of China where they admit openly that ET is real and exists. Does that matter in the scheme of things for us? Like, what if Putin came out and said, hey, ET is real and did what Trump should be doing? How would that affect us?
If Putin were to disclose, that would be 10 times worse than Barack Obama disclosing. Putin is a head of state. That's
Yeah,
disclosure. That's the formal confirmation.
absolutely.
And he
Absolutely.
would get, as Chris Mellon recently wrote, perhaps the greatest, he would have executed perhaps the greatest act of any head of state in all of history.
Right.
And Donald Trump would get nothing.
He'd get
Zero.
zero.
No silver medal, right? Nothing.
Right.
What he would get is a huge amount of criticism pouring in from the American people. How is it that we're hearing that from Vladimir Putin and not from you?
Yeah.
Right. And so that is a catastrophe. Now, Putin has his own reasons for sitting back. Xi Jinping has his own reasons for sitting
Yeah.
back. But they could change their mind tomorrow. Presidential advisors.
Sure. Yeah.
The other heads of state, though, in the other countries have, I think, long ago made it clear that they're deferring to us. We go first. We're not gonna take that away from you.
Wow.
You are the leader of the free world. You are the most powerful nation in the world. You're the most powerful economy. We really don't want to cut in line and piss you off. It should come from you. And so far, they are holding with that. But that could change too. All right. There are a number of heads of state that could benefit greatly from that legacy. But so far, no. So the opportunity for our president to be disclosure president is increasingly getting smaller. It's hanging by a thread in a way. And so it's a question if somebody's got to get bold here, right? You know, want to be bold. Everybody's calling for boldness. Secretary of War is calling for boldness. President's calling for boldness. Well, here's some boldness. End the damn truth embargo. Take the legacy, take the history, and change the world. And don't feel bad that, you know, don't, and if other people are saying, why are you doing it? Right. The answer is simple. 13 other presidents of both parties didn't do it. They could have done it, but they didn't do it. And so I did. So too bad.
I mean, Carrie makes a good point here. You know, she says that in her opinion, they're all Masons. Secret societies make vows of silence for hidden knowledge. It's bounded contracts. That's why we're all in the dark. I mean, and it's sad to say that might be in the realm of possibility. Why is all this political stuff always given first precedent over, you know, the 8+ billion humans that are on this planet and that deserve disclosure?
Well, they're not all Masons.
No, not all of them, but
no,
I'm
they're
sure
not all Masons. No. The majority of them are not Masons. There are the secret societies, but overall, if you look at the globe and the number of leaders out there that are making decisions overall, it's not secret society stuff. That doesn't mean the secret societies don't have people. They have people in government, sure.
Oh yeah,
and they may have a point of view on this. Don't contribute. All right, but that's not the problem. Secrecy in general, the misuse of secrecy, rule by secrecy, is a big problem. But and secret societies are a part of that. Yeah. But the governments of the world are abusing secrecy. The United States is abusing secrecy as a matter of policy, not a matter of allegiance to some secret group. We do it for all kinds of reasons, believe me.
Yeah, I get that. I totally get that. Yeah.
So I don't invest much into that. There's all manner of people are abusing secrecy. And so to get to the nitty gritty here, there have been a lot of historical events that have intervened to suppress the ability to move forward on this issue. And that's the nature of history. As I said, the more history, the bigger the issue, the more history can affect it. And this issue is as big as it gets. So it's been impacted by a range of things, which is why it's now 30 years on since the end, or over 30 years since the end of the Cold War, which was our first really big opportunity. I mean, everything had a change. Everything was looking much more promising. The Vietnam War was over. Now the Cold War is over. Our enemy has become capitalist. Religion is back, and in the new Russian Republic, whatever. But instead, a whole lot of people, for good or bad reasons, decided, let's do it again. Let's just keep going. Let's just do that again. So a new Cold War began. Okay, well, that wasn't helpful. Now we're facing another war, not a Cold War. We're ramping up to World War III. I haven't been willing to say that until now, but that's what's going on. It's a little frustrating to say the least, but let's be clear.
Very frustrating. It's very frustrating because, like, back then, the population, it wasn't in the zeitgeist, like like when I was growing up in the 70s and had my kids in the 80s. Talking about UFOs was like fringe. It was like so fringe. You
Sure.
didn't really discuss it at the dinner table. Now it's all you hear and read about, especially with social media and the
It's well
internet.
established. Yeah.
Absolutely. So
And
now's the
generally
time.
positive. And generally positive.
Generally positive, correct. Yeah.
But as I said earlier, look, and if it stopped me, because I just did an interview just before yours, 2 hours, and so stop me
No,
if I've
that's
already
perfect.
said it. Okay.
Yeah.
We have a very clear understanding of the cause of World War I, the ramp up to World War I, all in great detail. It's 20th century.
Yeah.
And we have a detailed understanding of the ramp up to World War II. We understand it completely. And that is why it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that now we are in the ramp up to World War III.
Absolutely.
If you Google what are the risks of World War III right now, or what are the things happening that could take us to World War III, you get some pretty good answers, and they're not negative. Okay.
Right.
So, okay. Well, gee, that's not helpful. All right. In terms of pursuing disclosure, well, it's a potential major block, but on the other hand, it could be a major catalyst. So let's talk about that.
Catalyst to the onset of World War III, you're saying?
No, the onset of World War III could be a catalyst to disclosure. And that's the upside of it. Okay. The first case, no. World War I wasn't going to trigger disclosure. World War II, the ramp wasn't going to do it. The end of World War II, of course, when we drop the bombs and then the ET presence emerges, well, that was interesting. But now we're much further along. And so what's going on here? Okay, look. The recent actions have crossed a line that is now manifesting what you get, meaning a world war out of it. Why? First of all, the recent engagement involved massive use of rockets and missiles and drones that were fired off at 9 different countries.
Yeah.
So it's one thing if you attack a country and blow something up and they shoot down one of your planes. Right. It's another thing when you attack a country and then they attack 9 other countries. It doesn't matter that they're going after our bases in these other countries. Right. They're firing into sovereign space, 9 countries. That is the kind of thing that moves you towards World War. All right. But there was there's a huge miscalculation that was done here. What can I say? I wasn't gamed out thoroughly. The supercomputer was broken that day, whatever, but they didn't they didn't understand how this might affect the state of Hormuz. They didn't really think it through. And so they launch an attack that's very intensive. They do something almost unprecedented. They wipe out an entire leadership group of the country. It's roughly the equivalent of someone coming over to the United States and blowing up the White House when the entire cabinet is there, and also a number of military advisors and so forth there for a big whatever the hell confab. Blew it all up, killed them all.
There's a TV series about that. Yeah.
So that's what we did. Okay. Well, that's one big matzo ball you just dropped into the soup there. Yeah. All right. And it was at a level that handed the Iranians a blank check uh,
Yeah.
to then do whatever the hell they wanted to do. The first thing they did was essentially go after all of our bases with drones and what have you, firing them all. They also, landed some in some of the other Arab countries.
Mm.
Nothing huge, but nevertheless, uh, complete violations, basically acts of war. Every single one of those is an act of war to 8 other
How
countries.
are they continuing to do that when Trump is making statements on the daily that we blew up their navy and they have no military and we practically the war's almost over because we wiped them out, and then they go and put his son in, Ayatollah's son in. So like, how are they continuing to have an army and power enough to be dropping bombs anywhere if Trump is correct?
Well, I would rather not address the statements from the government and what they're saying. I'm only addressing what's happening, actually
Yeah.
happening. All right. And so, uh, what happens next? And what happens next is what they didn't properly think about,
Mm.
is that Iran has given itself, or been given, or given itself the license to shut down the state of Hormuz, the Strait of
Yeah,
Hormuz.
which is
I
what they're
mean, really
doing.
shut down. I mean, it has been shut down before
Yeah.
a couple of times, but it was, the issues were whatever, cut aside, deal, and then it's open again. Not this time. They are committed to literally shutting it down indefinitely. All right. So overnight, happened very fast. Uh, two oil tankers are blown up, on fire. All right.
Mm.
Uh, and the insurance company shut down immediately. All right. Which means that's not going to happen. But then the government, I think the US government did this, or one other, but maybe the US government or some entity basically said, okay, we'll insure you. In other words, okay, they won't do it, but we'll insure you. So when you get set on fire, we'll pay off the loss, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe a couple of tankers said, okay, well then now they're on fire. And I'll tell you, 4 more tankers, and that offer of backing them up with a net goes down the drain. Technically, Iran can shut it down indefinitely. Why? Because they set one on fire, but running a boat into it. They have used up thousands of their drones and missiles. They still have thousands more, and I do not.
Oh,
Eventually, they could run out of them if they keep firing them off into different nations. But they don't need to do that. They need to focus on one thing. Nothing goes through the state of Hormuz. And so a tanker shows up, they can send 50 Shahad drones at it. And only one has to get through, and that tanker is going to be on fire, right?
yeah.
And so they could blow up tanker after tanker after tanker. And also mines and so forth. And so essentially, barring a miracle, the state of Hormuz, the Strait of Hormuz, is going to be shut down. And the implications of that are almost impossible to describe. The impact on the world, energy, and so forth will be catastrophic.
Yeah.
Nations are going to start hoarding. They're going to start going into their reserves. Our president said he's going to, I think, unleash
Yeah. Said
$400
that.
billion barrels of
Yep.
whatever.
Yeah.
Fine. And then what happens when they're used up? If that strait is able to be closed for a long enough time, the interest of a very great number of countries become existential. The demand to go get oil somewhere, somehow, steal it, borrow it, threaten, I don't know, is going to put the world's nations at each other's throat. And then, in addition to closing down the strait, there's all manner of terrorist attacks that are going to take place.
And they are already.
Yeah, no.
They
There
are
is a
already.
license to kill out there now. Any member of the cabinet, any major advisor to the president, any significant figure out there
Mm.
has to assume that they are a target of assassination. And in terms of small terrorism, blowing up pizza parlors, I don't think so. Downing airplanes, probably not that effective, but certainly irritates people.
It's in
All
the
right.
realm of
You could track
possibility.
travel, but much harder to do. There are all kinds of really bad terrorisms that take place that are much easier to do and much harder to stop. They've been given a license to do that. And that, you take that all together, and on paper, you are headed towards World War III. Meanwhile, again, and then in other words, if your supercomputer is not really game things well,
Yeah.
and you don't have all the variables, you simply can't account for what's going to happen. And so when China closes down the airspace around Taiwan, which they just did, and the question that was why, okay, that maybe they closed it down because they're preparing to take it. And under the circumstances right now, think about it. If they make a move on Taiwan, most of our fleet is over there. We still have the fleet, but I think we just give it to them. I think to end up with multiple situations going on. We're dealing with a massive conflagration in the Mideast. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. China is now moving on Taiwan, and we're going to do what? I don't know. So that could be happening. Meanwhile, one of Putin's top advisor, commentators, whatever the hell, goes out and makes a statement. They do this all the time. They go out and make a statement. This will be a well-known commentator that, we could use nukes, we could do that. The recent statement that just came out, put up on Drudge, was that troops are being marshaled, Russian troops, to go into the Balkan states. What are we going to do if that happens? We're kind of tied up right now. And just imagine both of those things happen. Totally independent of what's happening in the Middle East, which is simply the engine that's creating the uncertainties. Yeah. Taiwan, Balkan states, you got yourselves a full-out World War III. And then you have the final question. What are the odds that a relatively robust beginning to a third World War, nobody's going to use a nuke? They might not. It could go on for years. Nobody is stupid enough to use a nuke. But what if they do? And then there you are, right? It's that simple. We've been heading for that for 30 years. I've been saying that for 30 years. Plenty of people have been saying that for 30 years. We're headed for a nuclear war.
I mean, it's been predicted to and prophesized by a lot of people. I mean, it could be in the realm. Like I said before, I think we're at the very precipice of it myself. But let's bring disclosure back in. Hypothetically, if, say, ET just appeared and a big ship over every major country appeared. Yeah. Now that's disclosure in and of itself. We don't need
disclosure that I define it. That's a big event, but it's not disclosure. Disclosure is the head of state confirms it. And so the ETs could be up there, but if the head of state comes out and says, I think it's an optical illusion, it could be, whatever.
Blue beam or whatever. Yeah.
But the presidents would then the heads of state would have to come out and say, I guess we're not alone, like what's his name did in the movie. And that would be disclosure. It would be the very untidy, unpleasant disclosure. It would be essentially emasculating disclosure. We don't want that. But if they do it, they do it. And if that gets us in the post-disclosure world, I'll take it. Right. Yeah. But here's the point that I was making earlier. The one possible ray of light in this latest human adventure into mass stupidity is that the president will be advised. And of course, I'm saying this, and I've already made this statement in 40 some podcasts in the last 3 or 4 months. And I'll keep making it, right? Little old me, 2 blocks from the White House. Now, I'd love to make it on Rogan, but I don't expect to get invited there anytime soon. But I figure if I hit enough podcasts, it'll leak in. So an advisor would hear this simple statement. Look, I don't know what your plans are in the Middle East. I don't know how you think that's going to go. I'm not sure what your plans are to deal with Taiwan or the Ukrainian war still underway. or your political problems.
Yeah.
I don't know what you can do there, but I know one thing you can do. Get the president out. Well, get the president in the Oval Office. Bring the cameras in, and have him disclose the ET presence. Right? We've already got enough. We want all the files, but we don't need all the files for the president to disclose. We don't
No.
need to be showing 3D, 4K photographs of dead aliens for the president. It's already pretty much confirmed. Get the president to disclose.
All we get is the TikTok videos and these grainy orbs, and it's so frustrating.
But they have the other stuff. So if anybody wants to question the president, right, assuming other heads of state don't follow right away, in which case I think most people go, he must be telling the truth. But at the other heads of state, just hold back. Hey, he just declassifies, 500 gun camera footages, 4K, whatever. He can't lose. He comes out and discloses. Now, why is that important? It's the only thing that could happen, short of, as you say, saucers over every city, right? Where people are, getting ready to launch, 500, Shahad, whatever the hell they call them, drones, and they're going, let's take a moment, right? What's going on here? But that's not going to happen. So he discloses. Okay, now, in short order, the entire world knows it's not alone. And every leader in the world knows that. Every journalist knows it. And then they're going to take a moment and they're going to say, do we want to just continue this game that we're playing now that's ancient, it's been going on for thousands of years, and play this out, see where it goes? Could be World War III, could be a nuke used, whatever. More bombings, more drones flying all over the place, more threats, whatever the hell. And not just maybe call a truce, call a temporary truce. Let's just take a truce.
Absolutely.
Right now. Everybody stop. Or do we want to take a truce and look at this? And let's talk about this. Let's examine this. What else? What other heads of state are willing to confirm it? What can we know about this? What are the implications for us going forward? It's, nothing else could possibly trigger that. What could any head of state say, given what's going on right now, that would cause 9, 10, 12 nations that are already embroiled to some degree in the beginning of a world war to take a step back and take a pause? What? Nothing. Nothing can do it. We're now committed, literally, to World War III until certain entities are absolutely destroyed and are no longer there, and we can step back and go, okay, we dealt with that. Now let's all get along.
I don't think that'll happen, though. I think once Trump is done with Iran, he's going to be going after other countries. I don't know. I just have a bad vibe about. I just don't think it's going to stop there. Per se.
No. Once Trump is done with Ukraine, he's going to go to the Balkans.
He is.
And with World War III, it's going to grow and grow and grow and grow. There's almost no limit. Once you go there, every grievance, every problem, every border issue in the world suddenly is now, it's like 1,000 volcanoes going active all at once. They've been dormant for years, and all of a sudden they're all blowing up.
Yes.
And that's going to lead to nukes. They're going to have to bring in nukes. So that's what we're facing. And
to that, let me ask you this. We've had pretty believable stories about UAPs kind of disengaging or nullifying nukes.
Shutting down the nuclear warheads, yes. Shutting down the missiles that carry the nuclear warheads.
Right, that carry the nukes. Maybe the reason why ET is appearing with such veracity in the past 10 years is because they know what we're headed towards, and maybe they will intervene once they see the reality that nukes might be a very possible next step.
Yeah, you read my book, except I haven't read a book. I haven't written a book. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. They are the wild card here.
Absolutely.
And, will they intervene if we play this all the way out? I don't know. But who wants to gamble with the future of civilization like that,
Well,
when you have the means to step back yourself, meaning we just can't help ourselves, right? We're just going to keep doing this and blowing things up. The ETs will maybe step in and it'll be okay. But in the meantime, we got to do what we got to do, right? It's how we roll. I don't think so. I'm not gonna support that. You can't support that.
no,
However,
you can't.
yeah,
I mean,
but you can.
humans are so despicable that I don't think we'll ever stop having wars unless somebody does something so drastic. And I always pray that ET is that drastic measure. I just do.
Well, you say that, but I know some entities that I think have stopped having wars. You know who they are?
That have stopped having wars.
Yeah, the
Oh, the
ET.
Greys. Yeah. Yeah.
You see, if they'd blown themselves up, annihilated their civilizations, or kept doing that, sending themselves
Right.
backward, they probably never would have been able to go to the stars. And so apparently they
That's right.
solved the problem of evolving on a planet, developing high technology, and not just using it to slaughter everybody. That doesn't mean they didn't go through, many world wars too, but eventually they solved it. More importantly, whatever they did, however they were able to become spacefaring entities, and they don't seem to be fighting with each other as near as I can tell. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to talk to them about that? Open contact, post-disclosure. Could you explain to us how you solve the problem that we can't seem to solve? And your life forms are getting, cooperating on your planet,
Yeah.
not being destructive. We could use some tips here.
Oh my
That would be kind of cool.
It's so interesting how, in this community, you're hearing a lot about this United Federation of like out of Star Trek, the United Federation of planets or whatever. And who knows, maybe that's a real thing. Maybe there are supposedly people that are in communication with, I guess, the people that run it. I don't know. I don't follow it too closely. A lot of it seems like woo-woo to me, but there has to be some type of intervention to get humanity to stop this BS.
Well, there is an intervention. The question is, what is the agenda and how far are they willing to go? And I'm sure there's a federation out there, but that's not the one that we created, right? The one that we created is not that, I hope, because if you may remember, the United Federation, Galactic, what the hell it was always going where no man had gone before.
Yeah.
And with a great worldview on the ship, and people are getting along in a lot of ways and everything else. Yeah. And yet in every single one of those shows, except for a few, they're blowing stuff up.
Yeah.
Right? They're blowing each other up. They had the same enemies and they're blowing them up, and what happened? We lose ships. So it was basically war in space. So no, I do not think that is the kind of federation that is out there. And I don't think they call themselves the Galactic Federation. Well, of course they don't. But I like the fact that humans have tried to project that. They understand at some level that obviously that is there. And then, of course, they anthropomorphically make it weaponized and violent and all that stuff. Give us that's fine. But again, these other entities have been around longer. And so again, we need to know how they function. How did they get through what is probably a common problem to most life planets? You see, the physics is the same. The elements are the same. Life could be different. I'm sure it could evolve differently. You could evolve on a non-DNA platform, but still makes, I don't know. But whatever, they're flying around. So these are all available to us right now. At the same time that we're now about to go through maybe the war to end all wars. I don't know. It's not an accident that they showed up in big after the atomic bombs. It's not an accident they turned ICBMs off. And I know that, and you know that, and a whole bunch of people know that. And there are people ready to testify in front of Congress about that, but they had never had the opportunity. They've been blocked in a sense, one way or another. They've been blocked. Bob Sallis has never testified.
I mean, you've got David Grush talking about biologics and that we have some of these biologics, but and then everybody right away says, oh, it's secondhand information. He never got, it wasn't firsthand information, and they're always like pushing all this information aside like it's woo-woo. And it's so frustrating.
Somebody always does, but David Grush's testimony.
It's Avi Loeb too. they do it to Avi Loeb when he come out and was talking about the comet, and it's just very frustrating how they. And look at Arrow too, right? Didn't they make a statement saying, first they were like, oh, there might be ET, and they gave us some hope. And then they came out and said, no, we have no evidence that ET exists. No
That was a
proof.
blocking move. That was a
That was
blocking
what?
move. That
Yeah.
was a blocking move. Look,
Yeah.
everybody doesn't say those things, and everybody in government doesn't think that way. The point is that things would not be moving forward like they are if quite a few people of substance, rank, station, and so forth are supporting it. And so what X number of people on the internet think is not that important now. Okay.
What about
They
that?
can have those thoughts.
What's her name? Paulina Luna,
Anna Polina Luna.
Anna Paulina. Yeah. What about her? Do you think she's, vying for this as much as, I mean, does her word help? Is what she's doing helping the cause?
She's one of a number of Congress people who are aggressively pursuing the issue and believe that it's, I think, true, and want us to know the truth. She's one of many, and that's fine. All right.
Yeah.
And so, without getting into the too granular, the point is the disclosure movement is okay, but right now somewhat stalled, but not totally, while other things are happening which were kind of inevitable that threaten it all. So now we're getting down to it. And as I can say, and I'll be saying this over and over again, the way it played out, and for those that don't like the players on the field, tough, okay, it's who's on the field when the World Series begins. You can't just go grab some other players from another team, bring them in, because I know these are better looking. Right? No. These are the players on the field. Accept it. All right. And these are the ones that are going to make the decision how this goes. All right. And with respect to that, these players are very much involved and responsible for, along with other heads of state and stuff, part of this World War III ramp up. Okay. Which will not end well. No question.
No.
But these are also the same players that are in a position and have already engaged and not denied the ET presence. And they have the power to end the truth embargo tomorrow. Literally tomorrow. I have no idea how the World War III is going to end. It may go on for a year and a half, but whatever. I know the truth embargo end tomorrow. And the point that they need to understand is the impact that will have on these other issues in play. Maybe, if they talk to the right people, I could send them the right people that could give them that perspective. Meaning it's not simply an announcement. Okay, the ETs are here. We're not alone. Now let's get back to building bombs and blowing something up. No, it is an announcement of such enormous power that will be backed up by other heads of state. So that in short order, it's a worldwide worldview change. It's a piece of information more powerful than people sort of learning very slowly 500 years ago that the Earth, in fact, goes around the sun. Oh, that's interesting. Well, it took a while. Now, this is a million times more powerful than that, right?
Right.
And the president has the power to initiate it. Boom, boom, set it off. All you have to do is just go in and confirm. And if other people tell them no, just say, hey, I'm the president. I'm going to do it. Don't trust the people in there that try to talk you out of it.
Well, Trump's got that personality too. He's like the perfect candidate to do this. He's ballsy enough, to put it bluntly. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
For you, when did you realize that ET was real? Did you have an encounter with them? Like, at what point in your life did you know and validate that this is real and I need to lobby for this? Like, when did the wake up happen for you?
My late teens.
Wow.
I was just reading news. I was reading articles about UFOs in the news. I was reading science fiction books. Well, that didn't. I like science fiction. I reading those, but I was also reading things about this phenomenon in the news, right?
Mm.
And I had no biases of any kind. One of the most notable articles I read was the article about Betty and Barney Hill.
Oh
And when I
yeah.
read it, I concluded you had an encounter with ETs, extraterrestrials, right? In other words, for whatever reason, I had no built-in barrier to applying basic common sense to the reporting that was being done, and it was the legitimate reporting. They were just
Mm.
reporting. This is what was reported, and I concluded that's extraterrestrials. That's really cool. I'm dying to learn more. I can't wait for the government to talk to me about that. Again, it wasn't. Here's the thing: if you go back and look at the early, by the way, in the days after Roswell, in the months after Roswell, it's estimated that tens of thousands of articles were written.
Oh yeah.
Now, why is that? Well, because that's all there was newspapers, right?
Right.
There were way more newspapers than they are now. Every town had one. A lot of towns
Sure.
had two. And so
Yeah.
this was kind of a cool story. So they were writing it up. So maybe they were repeating the stuff, but the point is that thousands, and those are gone. They no longer exist, or they're in microfiche buried. But there was a huge amount of coverage back then. Now, it dies down as the government gets control of the issue. And there wasn't a robust citizen science effort at the time. So they're just reading an article. This was that and that. Now, forget that. Now we're talking about the articles of the last, starting in, I think starting around late 60s.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go back, as you go back in time to read the articles further back, the 60s, maybe even the 50s, and you just apply common sense to them, you just apply simple common sense to them, you quickly arrive at the conclusion that there are extraterrestrials here. It's not that complicated, okay? The only reason why people were not able to apply common sense is the government deliberately interfered in the reasoning process. They deliberately complicated, undermined, distorted, polluted the whole arena so that you couldn't get the common sense in.
Absolutely.
Right?
Like they do to most things. I mean,
yeah. And so they blocked it. They blocked it. But in fact is, once you just strip that away and just go back and read it on its face, there it is. You don't have to be just a regular person and apply common sense. You're not alone. But if you see something that's obvious to you, but some very powerful entity that you have great respect for says, no, that's not what you saw. You saw something else. It's natural to defer to that, right? And that's a simple case, a simple example. And we do that all the time.
Yeah.
But in this case, it was not one or two people. It was millions of people seeing stuff. And the government spent a fortune convincing them they didn't see what they're going to see.
Same with
Rendlesham.
Same with Rendlesham too. They did the same. They do it all the time. And I think after 2020, people woke up and they realized that their government is not necessarily their friend. A lot of people, went through cognitive dissonance and they just had a struggle with that. But I think it opened up the minds of many people that UFOs, UAPs, whatever, are real, and that this information is being intentionally suppressed, and it's pissed off a lot of people.
Yeah, I would modify that a little bit. People were losing faith in government long ago.
Absolutely.
Post World War II, patriotism was strong, confidence was strong, trust was strong, and that resulted in an extraordinary, robust period in America, where we made enormous progress financially and so forth, because things got done. But then the Cold War and the ET issue, part of that vast classified arena that they felt compelled they had to build to protect themselves against the enemies, which also had massive secret clandestine arenas plus big weapons. They started to treat the public as children and lie at will. And that escalated. The Vietnam War brought that out. And it wasn't long in the 60s when a whole bunch of people hated the government,
Right.
didn't believe it, hated it, thought it was lying, corrupt, and so forth. And that continued to build, right? It didn't have much let up. So the dissatisfaction and lack of trust in government was already well underway and growing by the mid
Absolutely.
60s. What changed as we enter the more recent era is that back in the 60s, you didn't have the internet. You didn't have any of this tech that
Correct.
connects
Yeah.
everybody with everybody. And so at some point, as the internet gets involved, in other words, when the internet comes on board in the late 90s, there's plenty of anger, distrust in government, plenty of it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nixon stuff. You had Watergate. You had all this stuff, and of course you had the lies about the war and all this. People are really angry at the government, and they
They
don't
are.
trust it. Okay, fine, but the internet comes along, and now millions of people can share
Yeah.
their
Game changer.
distrust.
Yeah.
Okay, now you can communicate. You have somebody to talk to all the time,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then you also have a whole new array of citizen researchers, right, that have expanded and grown with more and more powerful tools right up until now. And so now you've got the citizens researching the hell out of things to go after all that awful stuff and sharing it with everybody else. Now, some of it was wrong. Some of it they got wrong, didn't matter, right?
Right.
Overall, if you did some research and your result was, I think the government's okay on this, you didn't get any likes from that, but you come
Yeah.
over and say, no, this is. And so the internet took that fundamental distrust and just magnified it and grew it. It grew QAnon, it grew rabbit holes, it grew all of this stuff. It turned a fundamental breakdown in trusting government into a giant toxic soup, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So the beginning wasn't then, but that was the end result. It was the globalization of it to the point where it is a major problem for government, for people,
Yeah. It
for
is.
politics. Okay,
It had
before
to
it
go
was just,
somewhere. It had to go somewhere.
yeah. And so the internet manifests something that's already there, and of
Yes.
course that created more distrust in government. Right.
Yeah.
So we're still dealing with that. And that's just one of many things we have to deal with as a result of technology. But, it isn't just in the recently that we decided we don't like our government. Oh, no. And then the government's been dysfunctional. The dysfunction, that's one of the things going on right now. There's 4 major things going on right now that are somewhat interconnected. One is the breakdown in American politics, in the way it's run, the structure, the system, the voting,
Yes.
everything. Right? It's broken down.
It
Doesn't
is.
work. It can't create. You can't create good policies. You can't bring in good people. It can't function in a reasonable way. That's breaking down, causing all kinds of problems. The second thing that's happening, of course, is the developing Third World War. Right, which is somewhat more recent, but that's happening at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
All right. A third thing that's happening happens to be the disclosure process. All right, which is happening, which is of the 4 things, the only good thing. And the 4th thing is the Epstein scandal, which is normally would just be a scandal, except it's the Epstein scandal large. It's the whatever. I mean, it's the biggest scandal of all time.
It is.
And the reason,
Absolutely.
yeah, and the reason it's one of these 4. It's worthy being of one of these 4 things, the 4 major things that we're now trying to deal with. That's driving everybody crazy.
Yeah.
Is that for however it happened, it ended up involving a huge number of people of rank and station, wealth, many countries, financial improprieties. It's just off the charts. The capable of bringing down. I can't imagine how many people theoretically are going to end up resigning, committing suicide. This is only just getting started, unless they can get rid of the files. And then suddenly they just announce, we lost them. Okay, there's 3 million more that are still waiting to come out, and we're not even getting into the videos yet. And so we're talking about a blackmail, pedophile, improprieties, financial money laundering that is the biggest of all time, and it's going to impact so many people in so many nations that it is worthy of being considered one of these four. It's
I mean, that
raining
should have
hell.
been released during Biden's administration. They knew about them, they had them, and it should they it's just a matter of my opinion, but I think they should have been the files should have been released during Biden's. They did that intentionally, I think, to Trump. But
Well, let's think about that. Uh, First of all, Biden didn't control the Congress. Let me see. Let me see if I understand this. He did the Democrats have control of the Congress in his first
I
year?
think they did. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I
Uh,
think they most certainly did.
so here's these simplifications are always standard. They always turn up. But Biden comes into a very, very weird situation. Okay. Uh, he becomes president, and immediately there's a resurrection, insurrection, resurrection. Freudian stuff.
I wish there was.
I was 10 blocks from it. You know, a
Wow.
massive mob tried to trash the entire Capitol, and we just think, doesn't that happen every day? No, it doesn't. And so right away, an insurrection is underway. Massive problem. Okay, huge upset. And so getting to regular business, trying to get to a normal state of business didn't happen right away at all. And then the political situation went toxic. And so now you've got the two parties at each other's throats in even worse way. And the legitimacy of the election was challenged the entire time. And so the idea that the Obama administration was going to come in and start rattling the cages, shaking the trees, and getting things done, and this is going to happen, that's going to happen. They spent most of their time in administration holding off, the Huns at the gate. It was ugly. And I assure you that in general, anything the Democrats wanted to do, the Republicans were going to block it in any way they could. And in anything the Republicans want to do, the Dems are going to block it.
Yeah, it's
It
a
was,
terrible game. Yeah.
and so this idea that the situation on that the whole that oh gee, why didn't the Biden just dump the? No, it wasn't that easy. There was so much involved in getting to those files, and the situation was absolutely not conducive to it. However, the idea of why didn't you do it going to be used, going to be a classic excuse, classic thing. Use it. You could have done it. Why
Yeah.
didn't you do it? And ignore everything else. All right. And you could also say, why didn't Trump do it in his first administration?
Absolutely. You could absolutely say that.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I
Let
mean,
me ask you this.
yeah,
Do you think that, because this kind of gets me too, about these private defense contractors, right? Do you
yeah,
believe that they're holding some of the most important UAP evidence? Like, I think they're involved in so many black op ways. What's
sure,
your, yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, they're part of the deal, right? I mean, we're not upset when they build our submarines or our bombers, right? It's like, hey, and we're not upset that they don't put out on the internet how they built them, right? Classified, deeply classified, go to
yeah.
jail for life kind of stuff.
Oh,
They
yeah.
build the weapons to protect us. And so the idea that they are doing classified research on ET stuff is not a stretch at all. In fact, it's required. Now, as it happens, you don't have a bunch of people constantly pressing the government to pressing the defense contractors to give out their secrets on how they build the bombers and the plane and the submarines.
Right.
Right? Nobody's doing that.
Right.
But just in case anybody did, they exempted them from FOIA. That's pretty reasonable. You can't have people filing endless FOIAs because they want to learn how the nuclear subs work. I mean, come on, not going to happen. However, it was convenient, given that they did exempt them from FOIs, that it was helpful and convenient that everything that was shoved into defense contractor world under massive classification status and NDAs was not even FOIable. And that was a benefit. It was a benefit to the truth embargo. The truth embargo has many things working for it, something working against it. And so there is tons of stuff that will ultimately come out of the defense contractor world. And then they also used another opportunity, another benefit based on the nature of the Atomic Energy Act to put a lot of stuff there because you couldn't penetrate that, right? Okay. Now, and then they put a lot of stuff underground. So, and they spent billions doing this, and they did it because they believe, and many still do, that us knowing that we're not alone is the most awful, damning, existential mistake that they could possibly make.
What the
And all I can say is their reasoning is wrong. Their motives are probably corrupt, and
Absolutely.
they're doing other things much worse than that that is putting us at risk. And so
Absolutely.
there you go.
Do you think that disclosure, if it happens, could trigger like a constitutional crisis if Congress discovers these illegal black programs that are happening? Maybe they don't know about them all. And if it, happens that gets released during disclosure, like could that affect Congress?
It's not a constitutional crisis, but it is a what's the word? Well, it could be. There could be laws broken. I mean, there's no question some
Yeah,
laws are probably broken. That's not
I'm
necessarily a
thinking.
constitutional crisis, but the fact is that you can expect me and a lot of others that we just don't want to spend the rest of our lives or the rest of this century filing lawsuits
Oh my
and trying to put
goodness.
people in jail. This was a national security matter from the beginning, and no one would deny that. And so my thing would be pass an amnesty rule, pass an amnesty bill, then a truth and reconciliation bill,
Oh, that's
so that
good.
you can get information, and people are not going to go to jail. There
I like
might be an
that.
exception, but most of the stuff would be fairly straightforward. If somebody murdered somebody who was about to give out information under classified about ETs,
Yeah.
under the law, if in fact it was classified and at a certain level, technically they might have the right to do that. Uh, and we could argue that till the end of time.
God, that
I'm
gets
not
messy.
aware of anything they've done so awful that could not be amnestied or truth and reconciled. And so that's
Yeah.
what we need to do and move on with civilization.
Yeah, that sounds like a smart way to approach it. I mean, you've done so much over the past 30 years. You lobbied Congress since what, 1990s, 96? You're
Again, let me
running.
help you there. I've
Yeah.
done almost no lobbying. Recently, I've done some. I was the first lobbyist to make a point to do
Mm,
something no one had done, to demonstrate that this was worthy of that. But I couldn't talk to anybody. They wouldn't talk to me. This is 1996, and I had
yeah.
no money, no connections, and no political clout. I put the marker down that also got me press and so forth. So it helped me to get going. Okay,
Yeah,
it was
absolutely.
a ploy, but I say this often, but I understand people. But no, I was the first lobbyist, but I didn't do much lobbying. Now, what I did was lobby the media. I really lobbied the media, right, which is easious to do than
And
lobbying
smart.
Congress, I assure you. And lobbying the media on an issue is Congress adjacent. The media covers something, people in Congress read it. That's the best I could do. And
Yeah.
recently, I've had a little more opportunity to go up in the hill and so forth. But and others now have moved in with much more money than I, and there's other lobbyists, and they have more influence. So I was the first one to lobby. I didn't do much lobbying, at least in the traditional sense, right? If somebody had gifted me, $1 million or $2 million back in
Yeah.
1997, oh yeah, I would have been doing some lobbying. Okay,
Sure.
I would have been
Absolutely.
having some meetings, a couple of dinners. I
Yep.
hired my publicist friend who charges like 20,000 a month, no problem.
Jeez.
But hey, that didn't have that. Did the best I could.
That's all right. You did a lot of good work. And I have to ask you this because every time I talk to people in this arena, I always like to get their take on it. If disclosure, full disclosure happened tomorrow, like either aliens appearing in the sky, ships, whatever, or the president giving us full disclosure, what do you think that would look like? How do you think the masses would react? I've had quite interesting answers and I'm itching to hear yours.
Well, I can't let's don't talk about saucers turning up all over the place. Uh,
Okay.
it's not going to happen. Obviously, a lot of people would be upset by that, right?
Yeah.
And maybe even do stupid things, but that's the probability is low. The probability of disclosure from the president is high,
Okay.
and so uh, I'll give you my scenario. I've done this many times. Happy to do it. Love to do it.
Yes.
It won't be pre-announced. Okay. In other words, there won't be. The president will be addressing the nation on April 26th regarding the presence of extraterrestrials. No, not going to do that. There will be an announcement. The president's going to make an important address.
Yeah.
Okay. If there's and hopefully it won't get leaked, but it might. But even if it gets leaked, most people won't blow it off. They say that's just a rumor. Everybody won't. All the ET lovers, they're thinking it's going to be that. That's what they're saying. But so and also it'll be quickly. They'll make the decision and they'll act quickly. They won't sit on it for months because that's
Right.
not in this day and age. And so, the idea of giving announcing it on July the 8th on the anniversary of Roswell with a
Yes,
little
I
bit
was
of
going to ask you about
you
that.
generate a bigger audience. You could generate a huge
Right.
audience. There was something he might do it at the World Cup meeting, but this is kind of you get a bigger audience. Yeah, I get it, but it's not the way to go about it. It's a mistake. So because you're going to get an audience, okay, trust me. So it would be president's going to address there's plenty going on right now. World War III is happening. There's plenty of reasons to address the people, right? And so the president's going to address the nation from the Oval Office on such and such 9 o'clock I would do it on Friday night. Okay. But there's a case to be made for Monday, but it depends on how you look at it. And 9 o'clock. Now, given everything that's going on, the press is going to be covering it big time. All of the stations. And they may open up the international feeds so it goes through them, goes out to whatever.
Sure thing.
It'll be a good size audience. Okay. Plenty of millions of people. And the president just walks in, sits down. And if my advice would be very short. Don't get into the weeds. Don't get into explanations. Just give the basic statement. And the basic statement is easily a couple of minutes tops. All right. As president of the United States, I have access to any part of our military intelligence community classified program. I have been following, obviously, developments been going on in Congress, hearings and what have you.
Yeah.
I've made a few necessary inquiries, and I can tell you this evening, as your president, that we do have technologically advanced non-humans bodies. We have craft that they have flown, right? And therefore, wherever they're from, on that basis, we're not alone. Now, you have a million questions. Those questions hopefully will get answered in time. The media knows where all the briefing rooms are at every one of the services and the Pentagon and the CIA. Go there tomorrow. Start asking your questions. Clearly, there's going to be more hearings coming up, and you can expect information there. As for me, it's been a long day. I'm going to retire and get some sleep, and then things will begin tomorrow. In other words, the president should be answering questions. He really doesn't want his press secretary doing that. You want those questions going to the people that run the Pentagon and the CIA and the National Science Foundation and NASA and every other entity that has any action on this and connection. You want them answering the questions. Now you could hold hearings, bring people in. You could also put special panels together, invite the press. You want them to be getting that information from them. And you want to sit back and watch it happen. All right.
I think Caroline Leavitt needs to take some notes on what you just did, because that would be, I think, the perfect way to disclose. It sounds brilliant.
You don't want to put her in a position where she's got the press in front of her and they're wanting to know, what does the president think about that? What does the president think about this? Are the ETs from the planet Zumba? Whatever the hell. You don't want that. She should be basically saying, look, these are where this information is being
Yeah.
dispersed. This is the place. The president supports that. The president supports the UAP Disclosure Act, things like that, but not get into the weeds on this. Um, and for the love of God, don't politicize it. It is the one thing that is almost impossible to politicize. To the extent you keep it that way, I guarantee you'll have a much more pleasant time, and you'll have a plus, and you'll get a lot of good press, and you get a lot of good vibes if you do not politicize it. And so now we're in the post-disclosure world. All right, that's it. He has that legacy forever. He has enormous power, additional power that's been kind of put on his shoulders because he's done what no other president, head of state could do.
Yes.
Now, how do you then take that paradigm change early on and start to use it to cool down all of the
And
fire?
there you go. That's correct.
Right?
That's correct.
There's a lot of smart people available to him, people that have been in this field for years and years.
Sure.
They'd be happy to help, right? Don't go to some people over the Pentagon or some people at the State Department that just learn that there are ETs. What? I have no idea.
No. He's got to go right to the community. Correct.
Let the community help there. Bring them in, talk to them, give them jobs, whatever, and help to shape how are you going to take advantage of this paradigm shift to start quieting the waters, putting down the fires in a sense, so that we can have an opportunity to reassess policies and decide do we want to continue the way we've conducted our international.
That's a good question. That's a good question.
In light of this truth.
Yes. How do you think the public will react? What do you think would be the most reaction? Will it be fear, anger, joy? Like, how do you see that playing out?
There'll be a little of both, a little of everything. But the one thing you can count on, and this is a good thing, is that most of the entire world for the next weeks and months is going to be glued to their television sets and their computer.
Yep.
When they're not on their television set, they're going to be on their computer. A lot of work may not get done. All right. It's going to be hard for people to, say, but whatever. You're going to see more people paying more attention to a single issue than any time in history. Nothing even comes close. Nothing comes close to this. Not even World War II. Right? The amount of people paying attention to World War II. What's going on? Got to get this, got to get. No, you didn't have the media to do it. Right? You didn't have 80-inch screens so they could, here's what's going on at the Battle of the Bulge, right? Oh, 3D, 4K. No. Now they have the means to follow and engage this unprecedented. And so they're going to be locked in, watching everything, withholding judgment, probably. What's going on? What is it? What happened? And they will watch it for as long as they can and start developing their opinions. And so what people say, what government says, what military says afterwards, they're going to have hundreds of millions of people paying attention. So some jackass comes out with some cockamamie theory that they just came up with the night before, right? Yeah. That the ETs are going to demand 20% of all of our children to take away from the planet and develop somewhere else.
That's
somebody
ridiculous.
Will tackle that person, drag them back, put them in a straitjacket, and put them in a dark room until they come to their senses. Because the world, when that many people are watching this with that much intensity, this is a really bad time to play with the truth, right?
Yeah.
It's truth time at that point. Put the lies away, put them in a closet somewhere. But if you're going to go out and bullshit with an audience that size and the entire internet at their disposal, including AI, to immediately fact check you and cancel you in 20 minutes, don't do it. Go to all truth, total truth all the time. Be as candid and authentic as possible, so that people will start to get a picture that's real and reflects what's going on.
Do you think that will quell some of the possibilities of the inception of this third world war that we're having right now? Or do you think nations like Iran couldn't give a flying rat's you-know-what if disclosure happens?
Couldn't give a flying drone? What happens? Yeah, I hear you.
Couldn't give a flying drone.
I don't know.
Yeah.
All I know is that there's nothing even remotely available. Now, look, second coming of Christ comes down. He turns off all the weapons. Nothing shoots, right?
That
Right?
would
And
be
starts
brilliant.
re-preaching the gospel. Yeah, that would do it. That could do it. That could do it. But let's assume that's not possible.
Yeah.
Nothing comes close to this. And so this is what we got.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens. I mean, all I can say is we know what's going to happen if we don't, how would you say, interrupt this process underway. Right.
I agree.
Now, am I saying that if we have disclosure, that everybody guilty in the Epstein scandal gets a pass? No.
No, definitely not.
Not at
Yeah,
all.
one thing has nothing to do with the other.
I mean, that's going to happen, and it can be dealt with
accordingly.
Am I saying that? Well, let me say this. It has the potential to reset a lot of things. Resetting somebody's child pedophilia is not one of them. However, our dysfunctional political system and the things we've done to make it almost impossible to get anything done, impossible for really good people to want to even bother to be in Congress, that kind of stuff. Just all of the dysfunction that's been created in these years, that's a possibility for a reset. In terms of obviously World War III, there's a potential for a reset that could prevent it. That's the big one. That's the absolute big one.
Well, what evidence do you think needs to be released, tomorrow that would convince the scientific community beyond the shadow of a doubt? So Trump comes out, he's giving us full disclosure, and now the scientists are hopping in and they want evidence.
Yeah, well, they can go pound sand. They can go pound sand. The evidence has been dragged out for 60 years. Yeah. They wouldn't touch it. The scientists are smart. The number of scientists that fully know there's an ET presence, right, based upon just seeing what's happening and the evidence is brought forward, but will go on a camera and deny it, is a very large number. Yeah. Because they haven't got the courage. They don't want to lose their job. They don't want to undermine their status or whatever. So the scientists, because of the innate flaws of being a scientist, have kept them in line. And that's true for a number of groups.
Absolutely.
And so my ticket is this. The moment the president confirms it, all the scientists that already knew it was real, but weren't going to say so, will go, yeah, it's true. Right?
That would be brilliant.
So the idea, and there'll be some scientists say, look, unless you bring me that ship, I want that crash vehicle in front of my house tomorrow, I'm not going to do anything. And the other scientist is going to say, that's great. Why don't you just, go away? We're already getting involved in some really good new programs, incredible new research, right? It's going to be fantastic. You and the other, why don't you just quit, open up a donut shop or something. But no. We're way past that. Good. So now the scientists, what they really want is how much of this information will get in our hands? How long will it take? On what basis? How classified would any new research be? Even after we know the fundamental, they'll work all that out with each other. But the scientists, and that's going to be part of my job. I'll still be an activist post-disclosure.
Yeah,
but more things to deal with. But one of the things I'll be dealing with is hopefully being invited to, some of these little panels, high-end panels that I don't get invited to now. But they go, let's bring Bassett in here, right? I mean, sitting there, we're raising issues, kind of talk, very astute people, much smarter than me. Sure. They're raising various aspects of this and that and everything else. And what's something that is a concern to you, Mr. Bassett? I'd like the entire scientific community to take a step back and fully examine how the hell they went along with this truth embargo for 80 years.
Yeah.
What was the dynamics? To what extent were they coerced? To what extent was it sheer cowardice? And so forth and so forth, because we don't want our scientific community to ever do this again. And the scientists in the group will look over and go, well, you got to bug up your butt, don't you? I mean, I got a life to, I got a family, I got kids, I got all kinds of stuff. Right. And I'm just, I don't know, I understand that, but that doesn't mean we can't analyze it. We can't look at it and understand how easily a scientific community this vast could be shut up, shut down, coerced, NDA'd into submission.
Yeah, it's
That's
awful.
just one of many, many things I'm going to enjoy bringing up on a panel that I get invited to, but never get invited to again.
Oh, I think they will be inviting you. Something tells me that once disclosure happens, they will be asking you your opinion on it.
Cover my
No,
trouble, a decent lunch at a deli. I'm easy. Okay.
right. What the hey? Well, Stephen, this has been riveting and amazing. And I have to ask you, will you come back? Because I literally have 3 pages of notes that I didn't even get to talk to you about.
Come back. Look, no, I am the guy the podcasters can't get rid of.
Good. I love it.
So you
I
call me. We'll
seriously,
do it.
I am. I'm going to send you another date because I've got some really great questions lined up that we didn't even like touch the topic of. So I will be getting in touch with you via email later today to get you locked into another date. I love this topic. And, so much of what you said makes so much sense, especially in the beginning when you talked about the implications of this war and what it means to disclosure. That to me is it's like everything. It's everything right now.
I hope I'm right about that. But let's take some time for promos, right? Let's do
Go
some
right
promos
ahead.
here. Okay. First of all, I want to let people know that I'm going to purchase. Well, I have a Zoom account, but I'm going to expand my Zoom account. So the moment we get disclosure from the president,
Yep.
we're going to activate the largest Zoom I can afford and turn it on, right?
Yeah.
And I'm inviting, and I'm going to post the Zoom link on various places, whatever, and invite people from that moment on, probably for a couple of days. Just show up. You show up in the Zoom, say hello, chat with some other people, whatever, and celebrate. Let's just celebrate the post-disclosure world together. And it's right literally after. I'll have it. It'll be up, and I'm gonna do that. So there's that. Okay. Also, New Paradigm Institute is leading the charge right now. It is the front and center of the activist movement, the New Paradigm Institute, and that's Danny Sheehan, newparadigminstitute.org. They are doing the kinds of, and they have hundreds of thousands of dollars of funding, God bless them, but they're doing the kinds of things you do, which is like they created the Citizens for Disclosure movement. They're going to have chapters in every state. They've got them all around. And this is, again, citizen activism and other projects. Find them at newparadigminstitute.org.
Okay.
And they are nonprofit. All right. You have my website there. That's Paradigm Research Group. I am more operating at a different level, but I will continue doing what I do. But I do plan to hold an X conference when things settle down. I am also a nonprofit now, and one can donate for full tax deduction if it's appropriate. And there are a number of pretty substantial things I could do if a modest amount of money came in. And then I helped found the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance in Los Angeles with Dan Harari. That is growing rapidly. It is a nonprofit networking entity, basically free. I mean, it's $50 dues. I mean, that's it. And it's a donation, but whatever. And the whole thing was set up in Hollywood as a free networking organization to network people that make content with people that are dealing with the UAP issue. And some are dealing with both. To get them find each other, right? Because you have the founding members list there. You can bring up supporting members. So we've got Hollywood founding members. That's content. That's all content people. And we have UAP founding members, and they are people that have been dealing with this issue in content, could be creating documentaries or research or even contactees, but people that are involved. I mean, it's just, they have to be kind of a serious involvement with it. We're up to 247 members. We have one Oscar winner. Okay. Wow. We have one major musician, Willie Nelson, recently joined.
Oh, wow.
We expect to get some more Oscar people soon, but not that that's a big deal. I'm just saying that we are a serious organization and we're already helping people to create content. Now, we are just a networking group. We don't get a piece of any action. We don't get any action at all. We're not producing it. People that belong to us may be involved in producing and directing or
Right.
creating, but
Yep.
and New Paradigm Institute, the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance just facilitates networking. Okay. And to the extent we get some generous funding, tax deductible funding, there are a lot of events and things we could do that would be very powerful networking.
Yeah.
And that's how we would, but we're not in the business to make money from deals. Now,
Right.
anybody that's a member gets into, they could make money from deal. That's wonderful, right? But that's their money, their deal. We're just a nonprofit networking entity, unique. There's only one other entity out there that's like this, and that's called the
Wow.
Environmental Media Association. That's been around a lot longer. It was launched with millions of dollars, no big deal. We're kind of like that, but in our own special way. So that is something that is also worth funding. Hollywood Disclosure Alliance. And the other groups that have formed, like the Soul Foundation, that's a nonprofit, the UAP Foundation, pretty sure it's a nonprofit or equivalent. Lordy, there's so many groups coming on. It's hard to keep track, though I do promote them on my email list. And I need people to join my email list. I need an easier way for them to do it. But you go to the website that you just showed, my website, it's up in the left corner, and you could subscribe to my email list. Okay.
Okay.
I really need people to follow me on X, right? At Steve Bassett, Paradigm Research Group. Search.
Yeah.
You're as good as the number of subscribers or followers you have these days.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So next, come follow me. Okay. You can also follow me on LinkedIn. All right. Easy to find. These are the two major social medias I'm on. I haven't ventured into Instagram or TikTok. I don't know if I ever will. Not that
Instagram might be worth it. It's growing and growing at leaps and bounds. Instagram, as much as I don't like social media, but Instagram might be worth it for you to give it.
I'll look into it more. Maybe it's time. Yeah, and then also I have a channel on YouTube. Paradigm Research Group channel. That I'm about to do some work with and try to make it more useful. So these are the things you can join and subscribe to. As you will quickly find, I'm not a commercial operation. I monetize nothing. Doesn't mean I might in the future a little bit, but overall, no. And I just count on donations.
Of course.
To do my work.
People don't realize, that every little bit of support you can get makes a world of difference. When you look at it cumulatively, it does anyway. But I will have all the links in all the social media descriptions, of course, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, and on LinkedIn. I shared this. I have to tag you on there. I didn't know you were big into LinkedIn. But I will go back and tag you on that as well, because we aired this live on LinkedIn as well. Because I have quite a few subscribers there too, and it gets good views. So I will be sure.
It's a great social media network. It really is.
Yeah. It's gotten. It's gotten.
It's a class by itself.
I will make sure that I do my best to help you push all of your websites out there into the ether so that you can get as much support as you can, Stephen. And thank you so much for today. Thank you.
Almost done. A little more promo. A little more. Kind of take advantage of it. Lastly, I hope to see y'all at the Contact in the Desert, Indian Wells.
Right.
The tickets are flying off the shelves. It's going to be one of the biggest turnouts ever. The energy is very, very high. It's going to be a huge conference. We might even have disclosure by then. That's May 28th, June 1.
Oh, goodness.
I'm also speaking at the beloved conference in Exeter. Again, my memory, which is not getting better.
Why don't you send me those links?
Ozark Mountain.
Okay. Send me the links and I'll put them in with your other links too, in case folks want to go. Just email them to me and I'll pop them right in there for you.
And in a few days, on the 20th of March, I will be speaking at UFO Con in Burlingame.
Oh, nice.
Okay, near the SFO, Lorraine Fenton's. And then I'm also going to be speaking in April at the New Life Expo in New York.
Wow.
And so there's that's my gigs coming up. And come out, say hello.
Definitely.
Now
I'm done. All right, brilliant. Don't forget, send me the link so I could add them for you.
All right, they're on their way.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephen. I'll be in touch. Thank you so much for today. This was brilliant.
Ad Astra.
Take care, dear.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, that was so much fun. And of course, you learned so much. Thank you, everyone in the chat. You guys rock. You know, we love you. We love reading your comments and your questions as well. And this topic is just not going to go away, thankfully. And with the work of Stephen and so many others, maybe we will get disclosure. We will get what we need. Well, we're kind of pushing 6 o'clock now. Don't forget tomorrow, please join in 3:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I have a wonderful guest, and we're going to be talking about an incredible NDE, a near-death experience that Barbara Gale had and what it's done that has transformed her life and the life of so many other people. Thank you all so much. Thank you, guys. We love you in the chat. Thank you. Bye-bye. We'll see you tomorrow. 3:10. Thank you. Bye-bye.